And hello, everyone. Welcome to Trading Tech Talk. Oh man, what a week it has been for us. We have released, as many of you will know, the Powerbundle 360 with auto optimization for NinjaTrader last Thursday. And wow, what a response we've gotten since we've done this. We have had so many requests, so many questions, so much interest in our newest generation of the Powerbundle for NinjaTrader. And this is why this Tech Talk will be dedicated to how to use the Powerbundle 360 with auto optimization for NinjaTrader. So please sit down, get comfortable, and let's get started, because this is going to be a fully packed webinar. And I cannot guarantee that it's going to end within the hour. But anyways, let's get started. So who are we? Real quick, let me just go here. Before we do this, let's go through the disclaimer. As you know, trading is risky and not suited for everyone. If you trade, make sure that you only use risk capital. Risk capital is capital that if you lose it, it will not change your lifestyle. And when it comes to hypothetical performance, such as backtest results, keep in mind that this is not necessarily indicative for future performance. All right, so now that the lawyers are happy, who are we? Who do we have here today? So my name is Daniel, or Daniel Sinnig, and I will be hosting most of this webinar, but I'm joined today by Homa as well. She will be mainly manning the chat. So if you have questions, don't be shy, and expect really there will be many questions today. Feel free to write your questions into the Q&A section. So don't forget this. All these questions should go into the Q&A section. Why is that? Well, it makes it much easier for Homa to keep track of which questions have been answered, which questions are still pending, or perhaps which questions should be answered live by me. All right, so please put them into the Q&A section. And of course, we also have Nicholas on board. He also will be manning the chat, but he will also participate later on in this webinar, where he's going to present the integration of our Powerbundle 360 AO with Bloodhound. Bloodhound, if you don't know what it is, it's a graphical signal designer for NinjaTrader 8. All right, so enough about us. Just maybe a few more words of what we do in general if you don't know us yet. Well, we are tradingindicators.com, and together we are running a website where we offer our latest innovations in terms of trading to the public via our online store. And one such innovation that we just published last week was the Powerbundle 360 AO for NinjaTrader. But we're not only doing work for NinjaTrader, we in fact support many different platforms such as MetaStock, TradingView, of course, Thinkorswim, Modifwave, MT4, MT5, TradeStation, and so forth. So we're fairly certain that whatever platform you're using, we have got you covered. And our tools, since we started, in fact, are now used by traders, trading educators, institutions all over the world. And I personally have built more than 500 trading indicators and automated strategies. So we've been around the block quite a few times. Now, we're not only doing indicators, we also build trading dashboards. Some of them you may have seen already. We build smart apps for trading, fully automated strategies. We build trading scanners and so forth. And the hope is, if everything we do, it will benefit you, the trader, and it will help you to make better trading decisions. Because, if that's not the case, then what is our purpose? So all our tools are geared towards that purpose. And we also hope that what we present today, the Powerbundle 360 with auto optimization for NinjaTrader, will be just another tool in your toolbox, in your repertoire, which will help you make better trading decisions. All right, so what do we have on the agenda today? So first of all, we're going to cover what's new at Trading Indicators. There are a couple of new things which happened last week, or since the last time we had the Trading Tech Talk. We're going to reveal or repeat what is new. And then for the most part of this presentation, we're going to cover how to use the Powerbundle 360 with NinjaTrader 8. So we're going to cover all the different aspects. We're going to show you how to import our indicators, how to install updates, how to apply it to the chart, how to fine tune it, how to use the optimization, how to create alerts with NinjaTrader, how to scan for optimized signals, how to create trading strategies with the NinjaTrader strategy builder, how to use it in Bloodhound. So much on our agenda. So I don't really want to, spend too much time introducing everything. So let's just start it. Let's get started right away. And of course, if you have questions, please write them into the Q&A box. Now, if you cannot attend for the full session, or perhaps you're wondering where are our previous tech talks, well, you can find them on YouTube. And it's very easy to find us on YouTube. Simply go to our homepage, tradingindicators.com. On there, in the top right corner, you'll see a little YouTube icon. Simply click on it, and this will bring you to our YouTube channel. And on there, you will find all the recordings from our previous tech talks, including this tech talk, which will probably be published within the next day or so. All right, so what's new? A couple of things have happened since the last tech talk. Well, one cool thing happened. We actually now do have our own YouTube handle. So if you go to youtube.com and you type in /my-trading indicators, it will bring you directly to our YouTube page. So let me just simply click on it and let's see what happens. So this will open up in your web browser of choice. And once you are on our homepage for YouTube, you can see all the videos that we have. We also just recently cracked the 1,000 subscribers mark. So thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. It's very, very appreciated. And if you have not subscribed yet, of course, please subscribe so you can get, or you will stay up to date with everything new that we will be publishing. Okay, so back to my slides. Now, what's new? We also have released, I mentioned this before, the Powerbundle with auto optimization for NinjaTrader 8, and the response, as mentioned, has been phenomenal. We've been so overwhelmed, and I apologize if I have not gotten back to you yet, or if you had to wait for quite some time for an answer. It's just because we had so many questions, so much interest in our tools that we had a hard time keeping up. But rest assured, if you have emailed us and you have not received a response yet, we have not forgotten about you. You will receive a response. We also have released last week the Powerbundle 360 for MetaStock. So we, in fact, had a presentation on this topic. I believe it was last Friday. And if you're wondering how, the Powerbundle 360 with auto optimization works for MetaStock, simply go to our YouTube channel. Now you have the link. Maybe Homer or Nicholas, you can paste this link into the chat as well. Go there and rewatch our presentation on MetaStock, because MetaStock has a very unique feature, which is the scanner. I know you probably don't think, oh, scanner is not very unique. Well, when it comes to MetaStock, it is quite unique because it's so fast. It literally allows you to scan through thousands of symbols within minutes. And not just a regular scan, a scan with optimized parameters. It's unbelievable. So I encourage you, watch this presentation with MetaStock, see how it can scan through all these symbols. And again, you can find it on our YouTube channel. And last but not least, we have started working on the auto optimization version of the Powerbundle for Motive Wave. And we're looking at the release date of perhaps next week or the week after. So this is all in the works. And then, of course, new other platforms will be tackled as well. All right, so let's move on. Let's get to the topic at hand. NinjaTrader secrets with the Powerbundle 360 with auto optimization. What will we cover? Well, we're gonna start from scratch. So I'm gonna show you how to install the Powerbundle AO. I'm gonna show you how to install updates, how you can apply the indicators and use it on the chart, how to use the optimization function. We will define alerts together. We're gonna scan for optimized signals. We're going to build an automated strategy built on our Divergence Cloud AO indicator. And Niklas later on is going to show you how to use the Powerbundle AO with Bloodhound. So plenty of topics to cover. Let's get started. Before I do this, just a quick reminder, if you don't know it, what is our Powerbundle 360 AO? Well, it consists of 3 intelligent indicators, and we call them also self-reflecting indicators. And we have one indicator for each market condition. So we have one for the trending market, which is called 1 to 3 strike, one for spotting reversals or pullbacks, which is divergence cloud, and one indicator for trading the sideways market and looking for breakouts. And as mentioned before, all these indicators are what we call self-reflecting, because they will tell you directly on the chart how well they have been performing historically speaking. You can see the statistics directly on the chart. All right, so real quick, 1 to 3 strike is our trend trading indicator, and that will give you an entry signal if a strong trend is confirmed. And this is the case when all 3 dimensions which we need come together, which is directionality, an increase in volatility, and an increase in volume. And if all these things come together, an entry signal is generated. Divergence cloud, as the name suggests, spots divergence. And we have come up in our lab a couple of years back of a unique form of divergence, which we call volatility momentum divergence, which basically contrasts price action or price directionality with underlying volatility. And we have discovered if price moves up, and at the same time volatility moves down or goes down, it's a form of bullish divergence, showing or indicating that the uptrend will continue longer. Or vice versa, if price moves down, but volatility increases, again, we have a form of divergence. This is a form of bearish divergence, so that a trend reversal to the downside may be imminent. And divergence cloud is designed to spot exactly these forms of divergence. And finally, we have Volatility Crusher, an indicator designed to spot strong breakouts. And we define a strong breakout as a breakout which will last for quite some time. And as you can imagine, we as traders can take advantage of this. So once we have a breakout, and it's a strong breakout, and we know that to a certain probability this breakout will continue into the future, well, we can simply enter in the direction of the breakout and take advantage of this. All right, so these are our 3 indicators in the Powerbundle 360. And just as a repeat, if you don't know it yet, they all come with entry, but also with exit signals, because once you're in a trade, you have to manage it. You have to get out of the trade eventually. This is why all our indicators, they come with their own exit signals. They will run on any time frame, any asset class, and any chart type. So whether you trade the intraday timeframes or perhaps the daily timeframes as an investor, you can take advantage of our indicators. And they will also run on different chart types. So whether you use OHLC or perhaps tick charts, or perhaps range bars or Renko charts, you can use our indicators. And for whatever you use, the real-time statistics will always be displayed on the chart. So there's no need to run a backtest. There's no need to create an automated strategy. You can simply just run it on the chart and see the real-time statistics directly on the chart as well. And now, with our latest generation, as mentioned, just released last Thursday, we also have included auto optimization in our indicators. And what auto optimization does basically is the indicator will find the best parameters for you, so you don't have to do it anymore. No longer you have to fiddle around with the parameters, trying to find, okay, which combination of parameters will give me the best results. The indicator will do it for you. And this is really the greatest innovation that we just released in generation 3 of our Powerbundle 360. All right, so let's get started. All right, so I'm going to switch over to NinjaTrader. And as mentioned before, we're going to start really from the beginning. Let me just drag it in real quick. There we go. So this is NinjaTrader. And a couple of things you see right away. First of all, I have my log tab selected here. And it looks very messy. You're right, there's a lot of stuff in there and this is very confusing. Don't worry about it. You only need to look at the log tab if you have any issues with NinjaTrader, or perhaps if an indicator is not working, or perhaps if an order is not executed properly. In that case, look at the log tab and perhaps send us a copy of it so we know what's going on, because this will help us debug or investigate an issue further. Besides this, there's not, you don't really need to look at the log tab more often. All right, so how do we install the Powerbundle 360 AO? Well, it's quite simple. As a result of your purchase or your acquisition of the Powerbundle 360 AO, you will receive a file, and that's a zip file which you can download onto your computer. Now, it's very important that you do not try to extract this zip file or to unpack it. It needs to stay as is. So don't try to extract it. Once it's extracted, you will no longer be able to import it. So just download it, put it into your downloads folder, or perhaps put it into your desktop or wherever you want, and leave it there. Okay. Now, what you would do then is you're going to go to the control center, and this is the NinjaTrader control center, and you're going to go up to the main menu to the tools item. You click on it and then go down to import, and you will select NinjaScript add-on. This will open up a file dialog. And as you can imagine, once this opens up, this may take a little bit. All right, so the file dialog opens. And as you can imagine, you will then select the downloaded zip file for the Powerbundle 360 AO. All right, so I've already done it, obviously. I've already installed my Powerbundle 360 AO, so everything is fine. Okay, but you may have noticed today, I sent out a note a bit earlier today that a new version of the Powerbundle 360 is available. And this may happen every once in a while. We're going to publish a slightly updated version, which perhaps will fix a bug or maybe introduce an improvement to the indicator, or perhaps, change the visualization a little bit based on your feedback. So this happens perhaps every month or maybe every 2 months, depending what's going on. So how do we install actually an update of the indicator? Because this is not as straightforward. So let me show you. So imagine today I have published version 1.2, which is actually the case of the Powerbundle 360 AO. And again, every update will come with such a zip file, which you can download. Now, let's see what happens. So you have the old version installed of the Powerbundle, but now a new version comes around. So let me just try it the way that most people will try it first. You're going to go to Tools. As I just mentioned before, you're going to go to Import, and you're going to go to the NinjaScript add-on. So let me do this. And again, this will open up the file dialog. And in there, I will then select, as you can imagine, the latest update of the Powerbundle. So in this case, it's the Powerbundle AO version 1.2. And I just sent this out maybe an hour ago. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to say Open. All right. So this is going to take a while because the Powerbundle is quite heavy, but whoa, what is this? Import failed. Probably something you don't want to see. But again, this happens all the time, and it's completely normal, actually. So don't worry about this. Just forgot to do one step. And the reason why you get this import failed message is because you already have an older version of the Powerbundle AO installed. And as long as this older version is there, you cannot install a newer version. Okay, so what's the solution? That's actually quite simple. And as you may imagine, we first need to remove the old version. So let's do it. So back to Tools. This is how you do it. You're going to go to Remove NinjaScript Assembly. This will again open up a new dialog, and that will show you all the NinjaScript indicators that you have installed on your system. So in my case, I have a custom version of Heikin-Nashi charts. I have the Powerbundle AO version 1.1 and another add-on. So in this case, you want to deinstall the, oops, let me just go here. Actually, you have to be very careful not to select too many things. So let me actually do this again, because it's very confusing because you can select multiple things to deinstall. So be careful with this. So I just want to be sure. I'm going to close this one more time and reopen it because I just clicked around, and you don't want to mess around and accidentally install or deinstall too many things. So I open it one more time. And now I'm just going to select Powerbundle AO version 1.1. and not the other ones. Just be careful with that. And I will click Remove. And it's going to ask me for a confirmation message. I'm going to say, yes, continue. And now you have to wait. And it's very important to not mess around further because this is actually still active, this field, but do not touch it. Wait until you get the confirmation message. And depending on how heavy the add-on is, this may take quite a few seconds, but you have to be patient. Okay, so we're going to wait. And finally, we're going to get a success message. Ninja script assembly successfully removed. Great. Okay, so now it's gone. Perfect. I can close this dialog again. I don't want to remove anything else. And now that the old version is removed, we can now import the latest version. So back to tools, import NinjaScript add-on, and will now choose the latest version of the Powerbundle AO, version 1.2. Again, which I had just published earlier on today. All right, so I go down to Powerbundle AO version 1.2, click open, and again, this will take perhaps 10, 20 seconds to import, depending on how fast your machine is. And finally, it will hopefully, fingers crossed, give us a success message that now the latest version of the Powerbundle AO has been imported. All right, so as you can see, it takes a little time, but not to worry. In all likelihood, this will now be working. So we just have to be patient a little bit. And again, as we are waiting here, if you have questions, just as a reminder, please put them into the Q&A section of Zoom. All right, done. NinjaScript successfully imported. Great. All right, so now I have the latest version of the Powerbundle AO installed. Perfect. So we have covered so far how to install the initial version of the indicator and how to install updates. Great. Now let's move on. We're going to cover next how do we apply the indicator to a chart. For this, I'm going to open up a price chart. Let me just quickly go to my charting window and drag it in. All right, there we go. So here I have an empty chart in NinjaTrader. And in this case, it is a chart of Meta, formerly Facebook, on the daily time frame. And no indicators are applied on this chart so far. Okay, so how can we apply the Powerbundle 360 indicators to a chart? And let's start with 1 to 3 strike. So what you need to do is to right-click on the chart, which will give you a context menu, and you're going to go to indicators. Simply click on it, and this will now open up another dialog, which is this one here. And some people get confused because they don't see our indicators in this long list here, which you will not find it there because the way we have grouped all our indicators, so all indicators from tradingindicators.com, you will actually find them in the subfolder trading indicators, which is right here. And every one of you should be able to see this subfolder. So double click on it, and it will show you all the indicators that you may have purchased from us. This is all what we've done in the past, including 1, 2, 3 strike AO. Again, AO stands for auto optimization. So in order to apply this indicator, simply double click. Once you do it, it will be added to the configured box here. And that's pretty much it. You can now just say OK, and the indicator will be loaded onto the chart. And if you know 1, 2, 3 strike, you already know that the bigger triangles, the green ones, they are long entry signals, and the bigger red triangles are short entry signals. As mentioned previously, this indicator not only shows you the entries, but also exits. And for every exit, for every entry, a number of exits may happen. In this case, we have 4 exits per entry. So here we had 1 entry and 1, 2, 3, 4 exits. Here again, 1 entry, 1, 2, 3, 4 exits. And once all exits have been taken, you will be flat at this point, and you'll wait for another signal to come around. Now, something that I've been asked a lot in the last week, and I think it's important to cover it, sometimes you will see something like this. As you can see here, we had an entry, a long entry, but no exit. And this is completely normal because we will close out a position under 2 circumstances. Circumstance number 1 is when all the partial exits have been taken. So in this case, we had 1 long entry and 1, 2, 3, 4 exits taken. We close out the position. Done. But there's another scenario where we will close out a position, which is this one here, when a signal in the opposite direction occurs. So here we had a long entry signal, And shortly after, we had a short entry signal. This is an indication to you to close out your long position and to enter into a short position instead. Okay, so whenever a signal in the opposite direction occurs, you will close out any existing open position. And it could be just a partial position. Perhaps you already had taken some exits, and you will open up a position in the opposite direction. So always keep this in mind. Now, another thing, another question that came up a lot in the last week is, well, when do we actually enter into a trade? As you can see here, the signals, the entry signals, they're always plotted below the bars. As we can see, if it's for long entries or if it's for short entries, they are plotted above the bars. Now, of course, this is not your entry point, because you would not be able to enter at the low price of a bar. It's not possible. Instead, what will happen is you will enter into the trade at the close price of the bar, or if the new bar already opened, at the open bar of the next bar. Yeah. So don't get confused by this. This is just for visualization purposes. If we didn't want to draw this entry signal in the middle of a price bar, which would overlap everything, instead we draw it below the price bar. But just keep in mind that your actual entry would be at the close of the bar, or if it's a daily time frame, at the open of the next bar. Okay, so this is just for visualization purposes. All right. Now, let's have a look at the parameters. So you also mentioned this little widget here, which you can drag around. Really cool. But you can also click on it. So we can click on this widget, and it will show us the statistics about how well this indicator has worked historically speaking. And here we can see that this particular indicator, this 1 to 3 strike indicator on Meta, on the daily chart, has given us a 70% success rate for long trades, and also a 70% or 70.73% success rate for short trades. And the way we calculate these statistics is actually quite simple. We look at all the exits that we have, and then we just analyze, okay, we had an exit here. Was it a winner or was it a loser? And based on this ratio, we will calculate these success statistics. Quite simple. All right. We can also see in this widget that the optimize on load feature was enabled. What does this mean? It means whenever the chart is loaded and the indicator is applied, the optimized settings based on this optimization, what in this case it's simplified, are used, which also basically means whenever I change symbols, let me maybe change it. Maybe I'm gonna go to Agilent. Yeah, it will reload the indicator, and automatically the optimal settings are being used. You don't need to click on the optimized button. The optimized settings are automatically applied. Here you can see the success statistics for Agilent. But let me go back to Meta. So back to Meta. And again, we're switching back now. The indicator will be applied and automatically use the optimal settings for Meta. So you can see here. Now, if you change the optimization mode, for example, from simplified to standard, and I'm going to explain in a second what these different optimization modes do. In this case, you will need to click on the optimize button. It will not automatically change the mode just by changing the drop down here. You need to click on the optimize button first. So I'm going to do this. And as you can see, once the optimization is done, we're going to have different long and short efficiencies. So this can take a while. As mentioned before, the different optimization modes test different numbers of combinations. And here we can see that our long efficiency has gone up a little bit, but our short efficiency has gone down. And in combination, actually, it made the indicator a bit worse. And you may wonder, why is that? Why is it when I test more combinations, I got worse statistics? They're not as good anymore. Well, we also have an explanation for this. It's because the different optimization modes, for example, if you go from standard or simplified to standard, standard is not a superset in terms of the number of combinations tested. It tests more combinations, but not necessarily the same ones as simplified. So they all have different heuristics as to which combinations to analyze. Okay. And it's the same for exhaustive. I'm not going to click it here because this will really take like 10 or 20 seconds to complete. Again, it is not necessarily a superset of standard or a superset of simplified. This is why sometimes, typically this is not the case, but sometimes when you use a more exhaustive optimization mode, a more comprehensive optimization mode, these statistics may actually go down because of the fact that for some reason in standard we omitted a combination which turned out to be very beneficial, which however was covered in simplified. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. So now you may wonder, let me go back to simplify because it gave us the best statistics. You may wonder, so how do I know which parameters were chosen as the optimal ones in the simplified mode? Well, quite easy. We have a little arrow here. This arrow actually belongs to the widget. It's not an entry arrow, so you can click on it. It will expand the widget. And now you can see which parameters were used to get this performance. You can see here, for example, for volatility period, a value of 20 was used. For volume period, 30. Fast MA period, 10. And slow MA period, 60. And long and partial exit, they stay at 4 and 4. Okay? So this is basically how you can find out what these parameters were. And this will become important later on when we define our automated strategy, because there we need to basically re-enter the optimal parameters. All right. One more thing. So sometimes you may have a bias towards a trade direction. So if you're an investor, for example, with a registered account, you might not be able to go short because that's not allowed in your registered account. Or you may not have the margin to make short trades. And you can only go long. In this case, you can actually tell the indicator, I'm only interested in seeing long trades. And more importantly, my optimization should only take into account the short efficiency, but not the long efficiency and not the short efficiency. Because if you have long and short as your trading style enabled, the optimizer will look for the best average efficiency. So basically long efficiency plus short efficiency divided by 2. Whatever gives us the highest average, this combination of parameters will be used. But perhaps this is not what you are looking for, and you only want to go long. So what you can do, you can select the trading style to be long only, let's say. Okay. And this will, as you can see here, it will not only hide all the short entries from your chart and set the short efficiency to 0, but it will also optimize now, once I click on optimize here, based on only the long direction. So let's do this. When I click optimize, and after a short period of time, the optimization is done. And we can now see that we have received a long efficiency of 74.07%. Why is it higher than before? Because here we're only optimizing for the long efficiency. We're no longer looking for the best average efficiency between both long and short, but in this case, only for the long efficiency. And of course, I can do the same thing for the short efficiency as well. Again, don't forget, whenever you make a change, to also re-optimize afterwards, as you can see here. All right, so back to long and short, and let me re-optimize it to get what we had previously. All right, so this is basically how the 1 to 3 strike indicator works. And the good news is, whatever I have told you so far about, changing your trading style, how the optimization modes work, the good news is this will be the same for the 2 other indicators as well. So we don't have to recover this. It's going to be exactly the same. Now, let's have a look at Divergence Cloud. For this, I'm going to open up a chart of Tesla. And in this case, I'm using a 15-minute chart. Okay, so it's an intraday time frame. As mentioned before, our indicators, they work on any time frame. So you're not limited to only use 1 to 3 strike, for example, on Meta Daily. You could have used it on a smaller time frame as well. So I'm going to apply the indicator. So again, back to indicators. This will open up a panel. Again, make sure you go into the trading indicators subfolder here, and then go down to Divergence Cloud AO. Double click, reload it into the configured box, and you will click OK. All right, so it's loaded, and you can see immediately that the nice glowing cloud behind the price bars. And you will also see reddish entry arrows, and greenish ones. And by default, the entry exit lines, what is that? Well, it's a line that connects the entry with any potential exit. They are not shown for Divergence Cloud. But this is just a default parameter setting. If you want to see them, you can very easily do this by going back to the settings of the indicator. All right. So it'll take a little while. And in there, you can simply select Show Entry Exit Lines. And as soon as you do this, you click Apply, and you will now see the entry exit lines, which connect the entries with the exits. And I personally prefer to have these enabled because, it allows me to see very nicely how a trade worked out. And as a rule of thumb, if you see these lines very nice and long, that means the signal really has been working out very nicely. One nuance to this, and I also have received a question or several questions by email since our release last week. Sometimes, like in the case here, we had a short trade. Obviously, it did not work out well in this case. And then we had a long entry here. If this happens, so if a short trade is replaced immediately by a long trade or vice versa, no entry exit line is drawn. It just makes the chart too messy, but don't be fooled. This losing trade in this case has been taken into account when it comes to calculating our success statistics. Our IET, in this case, would have counted as a loser for a short trade. Okay, so I personally like to have these entry exit lines enabled, but of course, that's a personal preference. All right, one other thing, and I mentioned this, the glowing cloud. So whenever the cloud is reddish, it means it's bearish divergence. And whenever the cloud is bullish, it means whenever the cloud is greenish, it means it's bullish divergence. And many of our traders or users of the previous generation of the Powerbundle, they have used simply this cloud color to make trade decisions. So perhaps they had their own, their own trading logic already in place, perhaps a system, I'm just making it up, based on MA crossover or whatever it is. And they were simply then using the cloud color as an additional filter to filter out trades which are unlikely to work out because they go against the divergence cloud color. So for example, they would not go long if the cloud at the same time is reddish. Or vice versa, you would not go short if the cloud color at the same time is greenish, so bullish. Okay, so you can just use the cloud color as a filter. Now, besides this, the indicator has exactly the same setup as 1, 2, 3 strike. You see your main entries here, you have your partial exits along the way, and so forth. So here we had, for example, a short entry Tesla a couple of, or 2 days ago, yesterday actually. So a short Tesla, and you can see here has been working out quite nicely, but so far no exits have been plotted because the indicator did not sense that it's time to book partial profits. It will do it as price shows indications that this bearish trend, this downtrend is coming to an end or slowing down. And sometimes the indicator will just simply give you an exit suggestions after a big move to the downside because, wow, that was a big move, time to book some profits. Time to lock in some profits. This can happen as well. Okay, again, we can see here that Divergence Cloud was optimized on load. So we're already seeing the optimal configurations. And if you're wondering what that is, you can again click on this little arrow here, and it will show us the parameter settings used for this optimal configuration. And here's one important thing. So if you are wondering what these parameters are doing in particular, ATR period, divergence look back, min price move, and so forth. This is all documented in our knowledge base. So if you go to our homepage and you go to Powerbundle or Powerbundle AO, there is a link on the top right corner, user manual, which will bring you to a knowledge base, and you can read up what these parameters are actually doing. Okay, so for every single parameter that we're using, for 1, 2, 3 strike, for Divergence Cloud, but also for Volatility Crusher, you will see a definition of what this parameter actually does and why it is there. And this can be beneficial because sometimes you don't want to trust the optimization or simply just want to understand what's going on behind the scenes. Well, in this case, you can read up and understand what this parameter actually does. And there's one more thing which I wanted to stress, because, you know, we now have auto optimization, which is great. It really saves a lot of time and makes life much easier. But it does not mean you must always trust auto optimization blindly. Yeah, because sometimes, you know, historically speaking, you may have very nice trades and it gives you a very nice success rate, but perhaps lately it has not worked out properly. So should I still trust auto optimization? Well, the answer is yes or no. Yes, because, well, for some reason, you know, the indicator has captured the market rhythm quite nicely by giving us good success statistics, but perhaps something is changing now. Perhaps market conditions are changing. So you always should look at it with a grain of salt. And what you can also do, once the indicator has determined the optimal settings in our look back period, you can still fine tune it by simply, I'm going to do it right now, moving around these sliders. For example, for ATR period, maybe I didn't like these entries, so I can move them around. And as you do this, not only will the efficiencies update in real time, but also the signals on the chart, which you know, is a little mechanism for you to fine tune the optimal settings, perhaps to get better trades out of it. Maybe you like the trades that were actually taken better than the ones that the optimization setting chose. So this is what you can do. You can simply you know, move things around, make things a bit better, and see how a parameter change will reflect on the efficiency ratings. And if you you know, messed up or went somewhere, can't remember what the optimal settings were, well, not to worry, simply click optimize again and we'll set back the parameters which were deemed optimal for this optimization mode, in this case, simplified. And of course, as mentioned before, I can choose between 3 different optimization modes. All right, so moving on, Volatility Crusher. All right, so for this, I'm going to open up yet another time frame and another symbol. In this case, a future symbol, the S&P 500 index futures on the 5-minute time frame. So in order to apply Volatility Crusher to it, simply right-click, go down again to indicators, go down there, open then the subfolder trading indicators. Once this opens, don't be impatient. So go to trading indicators, scroll down to Volatility Crusher AO, double click and apply it to the chart. All right. All right, so it's calculating. And this is the slowest of our indicators because it's also the most complicated ones in terms of its logic. So don't be discouraged if it takes a little bit of time to load this indicator. If it takes a bit longer than divergence got a 1 to 3 strike, that's really because the logic is the most complicated ones, and the math libraries that we're using to calculate these signals are the most costly in terms of computing power to perform. And we can see here that we had some very nice signals today, for example, around noon, a nice long entry which hit both targets. Or yesterday, for example, we also had a nice short trade which hit both targets as well. And actually, both were quite predictive in terms of what the future move will be. This is exactly the intent of this indicator. It is designed to detect strong, lasting breakouts. Lasting, meaning that price will continue in the direction of the breakout for quite some time afterwards. And if you're wondering what these boxes are here, well, these yellow or greenish or bluish box basically denotes the price move in our look back period to determine the breakout. So basically it it connects the high price in that period, which is maybe in this case 10 bars back, and the low price. And why do we do this? Why do we even bother showing this box? Well, it has a purpose because the indicator will define, first of all, the initial stop loss. You can see this here at the other end of the box, if depending on the settings, of course, but at the other end of the box by default. And the profit targets are also functions of the size of this box. So they are defined in percentages, and the percentage is based on how big this box is. And if you open up the settings of this indicator, again, it was auto-optimized on load. And if you scroll down, we can actually see that our look back period is 12 bars. And again, all these parameters are defined in our knowledge base, but what this basically means is that this box is 12 bars long. And we are showing the high price within the look-back period of 12 bars and the low price. And based on the range of that box, the profit targets are being defined. And profit target 1, you can see it here, is at 30% of the size of the box. And profit target 2 is at 60%. And the trading stop initially is also set at 60%. So in the very beginning, it's at the top of the box. But as soon as price moves actually in our favor, we are trading the stop at 60% of the box size. And this will continue as price moves in our favor. All right. So a special thing about Volatility Crusher, I'm going to move on very shortly. So late already, but I'm going to move on very shortly to some other topics. The special thing about Volatility Crusher compared to the other two indicators is that you will know right when the entry signal happens where my targets will be and where my stop is. For the other indicators, this was not the case. You would not know, let me just quickly go back to Divergence Cloud. You would not know when this entry happens where my exits will be, because these will only be defined as the market plays out in the future. But I will not know it at this point here. I have no idea. This is why it's very important that you supplement 1-2-3 strike and Divergence Cloud with your own risk management logic. Make sure you put your own stops in place, your emergency stops. So you will have an additional exit criteria. If price really moves against you, don't wait until the indicator shows you the signals. Put your own exit criteria here as well. So at the minimum, I would suggest always to have your emergency stop, not just to manage your risk, but also to manage your position sizing. Because you always want to find a position size that should you get stopped out or should this trade end not in your favor, you only lose a percentage of your equity that you're comfortable with. And my rule of thumb for everything I do in trading, if I get nervous because price is not moving in the right direction, it's doing something like this, I'm short, then it's going up. If I get nervous at some point, I risk too much. My position size is too high. So whatever you do in trading, make sure, should you get stopped out, you don't get nervous. It's an amount that you're comfortable losing. Okay? So it's very important. But back to Volatility Crusher. So the difference here is that for Volatility Crusher, you will know right when the signal comes where your stop loss is. It's right here. The indicator will tell you. You will also know where your profit targets is right at the beginning. These lines here are drawn right when this signal is generated. And this, of course, this will help you to, again, probably to position size to make sure that you don't over commit to your trade, that if should it go against you, you will only lose what you're comfortable losing, which is within your risk tolerance. So for Volatility Crusher, you do not need necessarily your own additional risk management. It is built in because the stop levels are known right when the entry signal occurs. All right. And again, as a reminder, if you're wondering what all these parameters do, I will not have time to go through all of them. In this case, go to our knowledge base. They are defined in there. We also have recorded a 5-hour masterclass on the topic. If you don't have received the links yet, I apologize. I was so busy. Just send me an email and I will send you the links for our masterclass on the topic of all three indicators, which will explain, or where I will explain together with Niklas, what every single parameter of our indicators do.
And Daniel?
Yes, Niklas.
A couple people would like to know, where can they pick up this AO update?
Yes, so if you have the old version of, old in quotes, it's not obsolete, it's not outdated, we're still maintaining it. And again, this is actually a very good topic. Thanks for Niklas. So don't get me wrong. So we have published this new generation of the Powerbundle with auto optimization. And I believe it's a great enhancement, but under no means have we decommissioned the old version. We'll still continue maintaining it, and you're not obliged to update to this version. So keep this in mind. But if you want to update to the new version, to the auto optimization version, simply, and you already have the old one, simply send me an email and I will give you then an upgrade code where you can just simply upgrade by paying a small fee or small price. You don't have to repurchase the product from scratch. Okay, so simply reach out to us via the contact form or via my personal email, and I will send you an upgrade code.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, cool. So let's now, that took a long time. So guys, please stay seated. This, of course, this is recorded. Should you drop off, don't worry, everything is recorded, and you can rewatch it later on. But I'm just gonna power through the other topics because, as intended, was supposed to be a very comprehensive tutorial on how to get started with NinjaTrader and the Powerbundle AO. So next topic at hand was, how can I define my alerts with the indicator? So for this, let's just take the example of Volatility Crusher. So there are two ways to define an alert. The first way is you can use some of the built-in alerts which come with Volatility Crusher. So if you go to the settings, and in this case, these alert settings are not visible on this widget, you actually have to go to the indicator settings. So right-click, you go to indicators. All right. You will then double-click, once this opens, double-click on the indicator which is configured. It will then open up this properties panel here. And if you scroll down, you will see a section called sound alerts. And as the name suggests, these are just sound alerts, so you can't be alerted in any other way. But if you want to have a sound, you can choose it here in the drop-down. Whatever it is, you can use a custom sound or some of the built-in sounds in NinjaTrader. If you want to be alerted by sound, for example, when a long entry happens, simply click this. From this point on, when you click OK, you will get a sound alert whenever this happens. Or for short entries, you select this one. For when target 1 is hit or target 2 is hit, you can get sound alerts too. Or when you get stopped out, you also can get sound alerts. And you can choose different alerts for every single type. Okay, so this is way number one. But you can also use the built-in alert feature, which comes with NinjaTrader. But here it's a bit different. So you're going to close this the settings box. Let's close it out. We then right-click on the chart and you go to alerts here. All right. So this is a bit different. So let me quickly explain to you how this works. So first of all, with this built-in alert mechanism, you can define custom alerts, which may not only be based on a single indicator, but perhaps also on additional settings, which you can all add here. So under conditions, you can either say, okay, if any of these conditions, basically, if 1 to 3 strike has a long entry, or divergence cloud, let's say, has a long entry, or Volatility Crusher has a long entry, I want to be notified. Yeah, you could do this. Or perhaps you want to define an all condition, which basically is an end condition. Let's say, if Volatility Crusher has a long entry and instead of or, and perhaps price is above the SMA 50 and something else, then I want to be notified. Yeah, so you can do this. And how do you define the conditions? It's fairly simple. First, you choose whether it's going to be an or condition, if any, or an end condition, if all. And then you click add. Okay. And then you will, in this case, let's say you want to define a condition that I want to be alerted when Volatility Crusher has an entry signal, a long entry signal. So we'll pick indicators here, double click. You will select Volatility Crusher because that's the only indicator applied to the chart. Double click. Yeah. And once selected, you can now choose, okay, for which indicator plot I want to be alerted. So Volatility Crusher has several plots. It has a plot, and the plot basically is a visualization that you see on the chart. So for Volatility Crusher, we have these entry signals. Let me just see if I can find one. It's hidden now. Let me just close this real quick, just to give you a bit of intuition. So this one here is a visualization. In the Ninja terms, it's called plot. This entry arrow here. Okay, so we can choose it. So by again clicking onto add condition, we go to indicators. We select Volatility Crusher, and that's indicator plot. We can, for example, select okay long entry, which would be exactly this one here. Or we could have selected short entry, or perhaps you could have selected long exit, or short exit, or target 1, and so forth. Okay, so we can, in this case, let's say long entry. Bars ago means, okay, how many bars ago should this entry have happened? Typically, you want to set 0. So at the latest bar, at the most recent bar, I want to have had a long entry, for example. Okay, once done, you can click OK. Oops. Of course, I made a mistake. Okay, so this is just the condition, but you also need to say what should happen to this condition. In this case, it is going to be the same for every single condition. So just keep this in mind. So for anything of this, on the right-hand side here, you will need to say greater than, and just take this as at face value, okay? So greater than, and here you can collapse this. You will select numeric value and 0. So long entry, greater than value 0. Or if it's a short entry, but again, you stay with greater than numeric value of 0. You always keep it greater than 0. That's just how we build these signals. And for all of our signals in the Powerbundle 360 AO, this is going to be the case. In this case, let's just keep it as long entry greater than 0. And once done, we now have our alert condition. You can add additional ones. I'm not going to do it right now. And the thing that remains to be done is, how do you want to be notified? And you have different ways to be notified. You can click on action here. You can click on add. It can be, for example, again, a sound. It could be some sort of message or pop-up dialog, or perhaps you won't even want to automatically submit an order. You can do this too. I don't recommend it. I mean, you could do it, it's possible, but I like to be notified first, and then perhaps upon the notification, I then will take a manual action. All right, so this is how you can define, say, sound here. You can put which sound file, click OK, and once you click OK now here, this alert has been defined for Volatility Crusher. And it's the same for every single signal or exit signal for Divergence Cloud and 1-2-3 strike. All right, good. Moving on. Any questions so far on alerts, or is this fairly clear?
No questions on alerts.
Great. All right. Awesome. Okay, next topic that we want to cover is, how can we scan for signals? I think it's a very popular topic, and thank God NinjaTrader does come with a scanner. So TradingView, we already had the Powerbundle 360 AO for TradingView. There is no scanner right now, so that's really a feature which was highly requested. It is actually highly requested in TradingView. It's the most requested feature, but right now you cannot scan for signals in TradingView, but you can do it in NinjaTrader.
We see, Daniel, we got to mention that, yes, there is a scanner in TradingView. So maybe you just wanted to clarify what you meant.
Oh, I did say that yesterday? No,
Colin just mentioned that there is a scanner in TradingView, but it doesn't allow custom signals to be scanned from our indicators.
Yeah, that's right. So you can scan in TradingView, but only for the built-in standard indicators which come with TradingView. This, of course, our Powerbundle 360 AO is not standard. It's a custom indicator. And right now you can't do custom scanning in TradingView. Absolutely. But you can do it in NinjaTrader. So let me show you how this can be done. All right. So let me go back to the control center. And the way you can scan in NinjaTrader is via what's called the market analyzer. So you can select it here. So I'm going to open it up. It's going to open up a new window, which by default, once it's freshly opened up, is completely empty. I'm going to maximize it so you can see it. So it's completely empty. There's nothing in there yet. So what we need to do first is you need to add some conditions that we want to scan for some of our custom signals. So in this case, let's scan for a custom signal of, let's say, 1-2-3 strike is currently long on a daily time frame. Yeah, and just keep this in mind, because there's a lot of things that need to come together. First, you have to pick the indicator, 1-2-3 strike. Then you need to pick what we're scanning for. Is it a long signal? Is it a short signal? Is it an exit signal? And so forth. And the third thing is on which time frame. So 1-2-3 strike, long entry on the daily time frame. And in NinjaTrader, all these three things are always defined together. Just keep this in mind. So how do we do this? Well, you're going to do a right click in the market analyzer. And again, this will open up a context menu, and you can go to columns here. Basically, you're going to define your own scan column within the market analyzer. So I'm going to click on it, open up columns. All right. And lots of things are already in here. First of all, you can see the columns which we already have. We have one for instrument, which is this one here, one for ask price, one for bid price, and one for last price. But we want to add an additional column to it. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, we're going to scroll down, and we're going to find in our left console here the entry indicator. So where can I find it? This one here. You double click on it. This basically tells NinjaTrader that we want to define a column based on an indicator which is installed in NinjaTrader, which in this case is the case. So double click, indicator opens up. All right. And on the right-hand side, you can see this this column, this weird column has been added here. On the right-hand side, this panel opens, and the first thing that you need to do is to find the right indicator. So by default, NinjaTrader will find the indicator which is first in the alphabet, like this one, AA, whatever. But obviously, this is not the indicator which we want to use. We want to use 1, 2, 3 strike. So step number 1 is we want to select our 1, 2, 3 strike AO indicator. So I'm going to open up this drop down. All right. And it's a bit tricky here. So because again, you may think, okay, 1, 2, 3 strike is going to show up alphabetically. Nope, it is not. Again, it is grouped or subgrouped in our trading indicators folder. So what you need to do first is you have to go down to trading indicators. Here, you can see it's a folder by this little arrow here. Yeah. And once you are in there, all the indicators within that folder are shown, including 1, 2, 3 strike AO. We also have divergence cloud. We also have volatility crusher. Okay, so here we're going to select 1, 2, 3 strike AO because that's the indicator we want to base our custom column on. Once you select it, everything here will update now based on the settings that we can use in 1, 2, 3 strike AO. All right, so now going down, so we now see okay, so I already said we need to choose the indicator. The next thing is what we want to scan for within that indicator. And this you would choose here in this plot condition. So again, here you can choose between all the plots which are exposed. For example, you can choose your long entry. We can scan for short entries. We can scan for partial exit to the long side or perhaps final exit to the short side. And even we can scan for IET. Why this is important, I'm going to show you in a second. Now, but in this case, we want to scan for long entries with 1, 2, 3 strikes. So I'm going to select long entry. Okay, I'm going to continue going down. And the other thing which I suggest always enabling is optimize on load. Why is that? Because if this setting is enabled, the scanner will then actually use the optimal parameter settings for performing the scan. If this is not selected, it will use the settings whichever are indicated here, like volatility period set to 7, volume set to 34, fast MA to 7, and so forth. But this may not be the optimal settings for the symbol we're scanning through. So you always want to choose optimize on loader. So at least I recommend it. And then you can also choose optimization mode. This is going to keep it simplified. And keep in mind, the more complex the mode is, if you use standard or exhaustive, the longer the scan will take. Okay, so now we've chosen our indicator, 1, 2, 3 strike. We've chosen that we want to scan for buy signals. And the third thing we need to indicate is on which time frame we want to perform the scan. So this you can indicate here under data series. So here you will define, okay, we want to scan, I said on the daily chart, so you pick daily and value is 1. So on the 1 daily chart. All right, but we're not done yet. Okay, so one very important part. Under time frame here, there's an option load data based on. Okay, now, every indicator, or especially the ones of optimization, they require a certain amount of data to be loaded to actually do the optimization. Now, if you only have 20 bars on it, there's not much to optimize. It's probably only 1 signal, 0 signals. We can't optimize. So we need to ensure that the scanner will load more than just 20 bars on the chart, because it's not what we need. We need like much more. And this can be indicated here. So under load data based on, what I suggest, I would always use bars, because if you use days, if you're on an intraday time frame and you use days, 5 days on 50 minutes is very different than 5 days on a 5-minute chart, because the bar numbers are going to vary significantly. So I always like to define it in terms of bars. So I select bars to be loaded, and here in terms of bars to load, I recommend at least 1,000. Otherwise, the optimization will not have enough data to do its job. Okay, so I'm going to pick 1,000. Again, keep in mind, the higher this value is, the longer the scan will take. Okay, so moving down here. All right, label. Label is basically the name of our column. So when I name my column, it should not just be named based on the indicator, because there's more information that we're scanning for. In fact, in this case, we're scanning for 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to abbreviate it. For buy trades, and on the daily chart. This is what we're scanning for all three things, not just 1 to 3 strike. Doesn't mean anything because we see what are we scanning for. It's a buy signal, and on which time frame? On the daily chart. So I like to encode all this in my label so it's very clear what's going on. Now, one more important thing, maximum bars look back. This absolutely always must be set to infinite. Don't try to change it to 256. It will break it. It will not make the indicator work properly because our indicators, because of the optimization function, primarily require a much longer look back on the chart, not just the last 256 bars. Sometimes you can use 256 for some indicators to, increase performance in terms of loading speed. In our case, since we do have auto optimization, you cannot do this. It must be set to infinite. Okay, but so far so good. That's pretty good. We have our our column defined. You don't have to change anything else. I'm gonna click OK. Great. And after right away, you're gonna see we now have a new column here: 1 to 3 strike by D1. All right. What's missing? Well, I guess we have to define which instruments, which symbols do we want to scan through. How do we add this? So NinjaTrader can do this by right-clicking on the market analyzer. You're going to go to Add Instruments, okay? And then you can either manually pick your instruments you want to add. For example, I want to add Agilent. It's added. Can do it again. Maybe I want to add Meta. Okay, it's added. And so forth. You can do it manually. But if you want to save yourself a bit of time, you may have already saved your instrument list, like a set of instruments somewhere. For example, all cryptos or all Dow symbols or all futures, whatever. In this case, I'm going to use all my stocks to watch. I say select all. All right. So this will now select all the instruments in my instrument list and add it to the market analyzer. And now, of course, you can see it's loading. It will take a little bit of time, but it's eventually completed. And what can we see here? We have our column here, and most values have a value of 0, but sometimes it's not 0. And in this case, I mentioned this to you before when you remember the alert condition, where we always set the greater than 0 condition. In this case, it means that for these three symbols, let me just sort it. For these three symbols here, KLAC, Autodesk, and MU, we currently have a buy signal on the chart with 1 to 3 strike on the daily time frame. All right, cool. Should we check it out? Let's do it. So let me just now open up a chart at the same time. So I'm going to make this a bit smaller so I can drag in my chart here. And I'm just going to go to my chart. I'm going to create a brand new chart here. And we're just going to open up a chart, let's say, of a random symbol. It doesn't really matter what it is. Maybe I'm going to take Meta, because we had it previously. All right. So one very important thing now to consider. When you open up a new chart and you want to see whether the scan picked up a signal properly, it is absolutely essential that you use the same chart setting that were used in the scanning. If they don't match up, you're going to have inconsistencies. So what are these same chart settings? First of all, the time frame. It was the daily chart. Okay, done. Secondly, the amount of bars on the chart. Remember, we loaded how many? 1,000 bars. Do the same thing on your chart. So bars set to 1,000, not just 50, 1,000. Okay, so these need to match up. All right. So now I can click on it and just give me a brand new chart, a daily chart, in this case for Meta. So now what I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to put it right next to my scanner. And the next thing I will do is I will instrument link my scanner or my scan results to the actual chart. What this will do, I'll show you in a second. So the instrument linking can be done with this little box here, right next to the minimize and maximize buttons. So you click on it and you pick a color. It doesn't really matter which one it is, as long as you remember it. In this case, I'm going to choose red. It's the first one on the list. And then I will do the same thing on the first checkbox next to the minimize button on the chart, red. And as soon as I've done this, they're both red. They are now instrument linked. What this means, whenever I click on a symbol in my scanner, the chart will load up the symbol. So in this case, I clicked on AA, the chart loaded it up. I click on Delta Airlines, the chart will load up Delta Airlines, and so forth. So that's very handy. Okay, now what's missing? Well, I guess we want to check whether 1, 2, 3 strike actually has a buy signal. So we first of all, of course, need to apply it to the chart. So go to indicators, trading indicators, and I choose 1, 2, 3 strike AO. All right, perfect. I'll make sure it's on load on optimize, or optimize on load, and I have it now loaded. Now let's pick our signals, and we can see here that we have a buy signal on the second to last bar. And there's a reason for this too. I'm going to explain in a second. So this was good. We have a signal here, very nice. If I do this for KLAC, after a little while, you also see, okay, we have a buy signal here. And for MU, same thing. I'm going to have a buy signal at the second to last bar. Now, why is that? And that's the reason for this. The way the market analyzer works by default in NinjaTrader is it scans for the last completed bar. Now you may think, okay, the stock market is closed. It's done. There's nothing happening today anymore. This is actually technically not the case. You can see sometimes certain things will blink. Netflix. This is the aftermarket, which is still trading. So technically, at least as far as NinjaTrader is concerned, the daily bar is not complete. This is why, by default, it will scan for the last completed bar, which is the second to last one, because this bar here, you can also see that it's highlighted a bit differently. It's not yet completed. Okay. So, but you may think, okay, well, I don't really want to wait until tomorrow, because tomorrow the bar is going to be deemed completed. I want to do my scan now. I want to see on the daily time frame which bars, as far as the market is concerned right now, have entry signals right now on the last bar, not just the second to last one, because second to last one is too late. Oh, there's a trick for this. What you can do, you can go back to your columns in the market analyzer. You go back to your 1 to 3 strike column on the buy daily, and you will now do one change. So you scroll down here, and you will change, if I can find it. Oh, here, calculate parameter. Change it from on bar close, as I mentioned before, the current bar is not considered closed yet. Change this to on each tick. All right. Once you do this, everything here will recalculate. And you will see that these 3 stocks will no longer have an entry signal. It's going to be gone, because now we were scanning for the last completed bar. You see here, they're gone. They're all 0. Now, Netflix has a buy signal. So let's click on it. All right. But where's the buy signal now? Well, same reason, because by default, our indicator works on close, the one that's on the chart. That's why this bar is not closed yet. Technically, therefore, there's no signal here. But if you want to see it, what you can do is you go to indicators and you change the calculation mode also for the on-chart indicator to be on tick. So I select my indicator here. I go down to calculation mode. Where is it? Here, calculate. And I choose, I'll go to on each tick. I click OK. As you can see now, well, we indeed do have an entry signal, a long entry signal for Netflix. All right, cool. That worked. So this is a little trick that you can use. It makes most sense on the daily time frame because you don't want to wait until next day to see a signal. Sometimes you just want to scan it when you get home from work or after the market closes, so you know what to do tomorrow morning. This is a trick how you can get it done. Now, but there's one more thing, which is which I think is going to be so awesome once you master this. How do we know? Here we only have one signal, but let's say we had more stocks with entry signals, because we only have 12 stocks on my list here. So you typically get a good chunk of stocks, maybe 20 stocks, which currently have entry signals. How do we know which entry signal I should follow and which ones I should not follow? Wouldn't it be nice if I could see my success statistics directly in the scanner? That way I don't have to go to the chart first, open up this widget, see what the statistics are. Here it's 80%, it's great. But wouldn't it be nice if I could see it directly in the scan results? Because if you have lots of stocks in your scanner, let's say hundreds, maybe you have 20 hits, you don't want to click through every single one, open up the widget, see what the statistics are. You want to see right away what these ones are. Well, we actually can do it. We can create a custom column in our scanner, which will show us the statistics. How can this be done? So again, right click, you go to columns. All right. All right. So here I'm going to click on, I'm going to go down to indicator one more time. Because again, it's going to be based on an indicator reading. So double click. It's going to be added down here. By default, it's the indicator that starts with A. So the first thing you want to do is you want to change this to 1, 2, 3 strike. So in the trading indicators folder. All right. Perfect. Trading indicators. Here you choose 1, 2, 3 strike AO. Done. Great. We've chosen our indicator. This will now refresh. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to say on the plot, okay, I don't want to see my long entries anymore because we already know which stocks have a long entry. I will now want to see what is the IET, what's the efficiency rating for long entries. So I'm going to open up this list and I'm going to go to long IET, long instant efficiency technology, like basically our long success rate. It's like a fancy term for this. So I'm going to pick it. All right, it's chosen. Now, but we're not done yet. Again, we need to make sure that optimize on load is enabled. Yeah, and we also need to make sure that the time frame matches up. So it needs to be the daily time frame again, not the minute time frame, which is the default one. And you may guess it, the number of bars loaded needs to match up too. Remember how many bars we had? We had 1,000 bars. So you have to put it in here as well. 1,000 bars. And last but not least, since the calculation mode was put to on each tick, you also want to put it in here. And we're almost done. The only thing I'm going to do now is to change the label. Again, I like the label to be as descriptive as possible. So 1, 2, 3 by IET on the daily time frame, D1. So now that I know everything what I need to know. It's going to show me the long IET on the daily time frame for 1, 2, 3 strike. All right. When I click OK, you will see a new column will be added to the scanner, and it will show us all the different IETs. You can see here 81% for KLAC, 76% for ADSK, and so forth. And now in our case for Netflix, we have 80.95%. And guess what? It's exactly this value here. Isn't this awesome? Now imagine you had not just one entry here, but maybe 20. What you can then do is simply sort by the symbol with the highest IET. Simply click on the column here. It's sortable. So I click on it. I select from highest to lowest. You can see Tesla has the best one, historically speaking, followed by KLIC, but then we also already have Netflix. And this is how you can very quickly narrow into the symbols which currently have a signal and which ones have the best success rates, historically speaking. All right. So we've shown it here for 1, 2, 3 strike buy entries on the daily time frame. But the process is exactly the same for Divergence Cloud, for Volatility Crusher. It's the same for sell entries. It's the same for exits. So it's always the same. So you just have to copy paste, do the same procedure for every single thing you want to scan for. Okay. Any questions? I know this is, yes, Nicholas.
Daniel, I'm going to cut off your flow a little bit here, but just in case you have an answer ready, Lisa Sheehan said she tried to uninstall the old version 1. And she gets a message that says the file Divergence Cloud references a trading indicators indicator contained in the assembly. You have to remove all dependencies.
Yeah. So this typically happens. Good question. Again, let me just quickly go back to the control center. So what Lisa was doing, she tried to deinstall an older version of the Powerbundle. She gets an error message. This will typically happen if you have created a strategy based on the indicator, or perhaps maybe a Bloodhound signal system based on the indicator. So what you would need to do first is to delete those ones. So there's no more references for our old Powerbundle indicators, and then you can deinstall it. So if you already have an automated strategy, maybe you created it with the strategy builder. It's actually a nice segue of what we're going to do next. Then you first need to delete that strategy. And the way I like to do it is I don't actually want to delete it. what I like to do is I simply just go here to my file manager. I go to the file system. I go to NinjaTrader 8 bin custom, and then you can see it here. If you have a strategy, you can go into strategies, and you may have a strategy in here. Instead of deleting it, I just rename it. And what do? I change the extension. It's the last two little letters here, .cs, to something which is not recognized by NinjaTrader. So I like to do like .bac, like backup or something. And once you do this, it's no longer recognized by NinjaTrader, and then you will be able to deinstall the Powerbundle and reinstall the new version. So hopefully this works. Okay, now already exhausted, but we have one more topic, and then Nicola is going to be there, but this topic is going to be faster. So I think 10 more minutes if you have the time, guys, for building a custom strategy based on our AO indicators. And then Nicholas is going to talk about Bloodhound for maybe 10 minutes, and then we made it through. So let's do it. So maybe take a nice sip of water, and let's get to it, if that's okay, if there's no more questions. I'm going to do it. And of course, if you have to drop off, just to reiterate, this is recorded, and we're going to make this recording available on our YouTube channel as of tomorrow. All right. So next topic, how can we create custom automated strategies based on our Powerbundle AO indicators? And the cool thing about NinjaTrader is you can do this without being a programmer. So you don't need to have a computer science degree or a programming degree or whatever to create fully automated strategies. And this is all thanks to the built-in strategy builder in NinjaTrader. So really cool. So the way to do this is to go to the control center. So I'm here. I'm going to go back to new. You're going to go down, in this case, to strategy builder. So I'm just going to open this up. But before I go any further, let me explain to you first what kind of strategy I'm trying to build. So we're going to build together a strategy. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. A strategy based on Divergence Cloud. I'm going to minimum or close this for 1 second. So it's going to be based on Divergence Cloud. All right, let me just take this indicator off because it's not 1, 2, 3 strike. It's based on Divergence Cloud. So first I'm going to apply Divergence Cloud just to see what Divergence Cloud actually does in terms of its parameterization. Okay, so let me quickly also go to Autodesk because that's the example I had prepared previously. So it's Autodesk on the daily time frame, and we're going to apply Divergence Cloud to it. So right click, I go to indicators, and I'm going to go down here to Divergence Cloud AO. All right. And I will apply the indicator to the chart. And all right, so we have it here. We don't show the entry exit lines, but we have our entry signals here and our the long side and the short signals here as well. All right, cool. Now, so if you want to build a strategy for Divergence Cloud, of course, we also want to parameterize the strategy. Basically, we want to tell the strategy which parameters or which values for the various parameters should be used. In this case, Divergence Cloud can be configured with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different parameters. We're not going to do the trading style in this case, just to keep it short. So we have ATR period, we have divergence lookback, we have min price move, we have long partial exits, and we have short partial exits. Now, so these are the parameters that can be used for Divergence Cloud. Okay, perfect. So let's keep these in mind. So ATR period, divergence lookback, min price move, and ATR percent, long and short partial exits. Because this is what we're going to add to our strategy. Okay, so back to the control center. And we're going to go to new and open up the strategy builder. All right, so this will open up, as mentioned before, a new window. Let me just take some time. All right, so I'm going to select a new strategy. So here you can either open an existing one, but in this case, we're going to open up a new one. And I promise you, this is not going to take more than 10 minutes. So I know it's been long, but hopefully not much longer. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to give it a nice name. So maybe Divergence Cloud AO Strat. There we go. Okay.
Daniel,
yes.
This plays into, I guess, trading strategies, but Michael Dupree wants to know, let's say you're using Divergence Cloud here, you're making a strategy. Why are you choosing Divergence Cloud as opposed to the other two indicators? Like, when do you know which one to use? How do you approach that?
Oh, well, okay, so when I'm on the chart and I don't know which of my 3 indicators I want to use, actually, I make my life very easy. If I don't know which one, I'm just going to look at the IET, at the statistics, and I choose the one which gives me the best ratings. So this is the first criteria. And the second one is where also the trades that I actually take and make the most sense to me. Because I don't want to blindly follow the historical success rates. Also the trades as they played out, they need to look good to me. They need to make sense. If that comes together, if that indicator seems to be nicely dialed into this particular symbol and time frame, I would follow that indicator mostly. But you know what? You don't have to choose one or the other. And this is actually a question which came up also a lot. It is possible to apply all 3 indicators at the same time to the chart. And you can look at all the statistics at the same time for all 3 of them, and just pick the one that has the best settings. So you don't have to do it one at a time. You can apply all 3 indicators to the same chart and time frame, no problem.
Perfect, okay. Thank you.
All right, cool. So back to my strategy build. So we picked a name for our strategy. So I'm going to click next. There's nothing else to be done here. Default properties. So here, a couple of important things. If you expand this more properties section, one thing which is super important, and again, if you don't do this, it's not going to work. You must choose maximum bars look back. You must change it from 256 to infinite. It will not work otherwise, because our indicators are so complex in terms of what they calculate. They require all the bars on the chart to be taken into account, not just the last 256 bars. Okay, and I also like to check exit on or uncheck exit on session close. Okay, because yeah, I don't want my Ninja to close out any intraday positions when the session ends. By default, I want them to be closed out when the indicator tells me to close out. So I don't want to have this option enabled. So this is what I like to do. I click next. Additional data we don't need, so we can ignore this section here. Great. All right, and now we're here into inputs and variables. So inputs are these strategy parameters. So the parameters you can use to customize the strategy with. So, and we're going to mimic the parameters that we had in the Divergence Cloud. So we have ATR period, divergence lookback, and so forth. So I'm going to add a new parameter. The first one is going to call ATR period. It's going to be an integer because it's a full number. And by default, set to, I don't know, 25. It doesn't really matter. We're going to override these later on anyways, but maybe 25. Okay. Now divergence lookback. So next parameter. Make sure there's no space in between, otherwise it's not going to work. Default, maybe, I don't know, I'm just making up numbers. Also 25. It doesn't have to match the numbers here by default. Okay. Next is min price move. Maybe default 100. It's fine. Again, it doesn't have to match. Maybe 150 just to make a case that it doesn't have to match these ones here. Okay. And then 2 more. We have long partial exits. Default to 4. And we're going to have short partial exits. All right. Also set by default to 4. Great. That's it. Moving on. So we have our parameters. We click on next. So now we have to define our entry conditions and exit conditions for the strategy. And of course, as you can imagine, you want to take a long entry when a big long arrow is printed, and a short entry when a short arrow is printed, like this one here. And you want to take partial exits. So this strategy will actually scale out of the position whenever we have a short exit. Okay. So a short exit here, and we want to scale out in the sense that we want to, take one contract off when this happens, and here a second one, and close out everything when the position or a signal in the opposite direction occurs. So let's start with the long entry. Let's start with the long entries. So we're going to click on add here in our conditions. All right. On the indicator, we're going to choose Divergence Cloud. And interestingly, in this case, a Divergence Cloud will not be in a subfolder, trading indicators. It's just going to be in the overall list. No idea why Ninja did it like this. It's a bit inconsistent, but you will find Divergence Cloud in the overall list. alphabetically ordered. So Divergence Cloud AO, we pick it. All right. Now, in the panel below here, the first thing you want to do, you can ignore all these for now, but you're going to scroll down. You know, as the first thing, you want to bind the parameters that are used in the strategy to the ones, the indicator parameters to the ones used in the strategy. Well, I hope this makes sense. So the ATR period of the indicator should match whatever the user has input as a parameter to the strategy. And if you remember, we mimicked all these parameters in our strategy. So we're going to click on set. I'm going to go to user input. I'm going to select ATR period because that's the strategy parameter. Same thing for divergence lookback. Again, user input, divergence lookback. I'm going to do this for all these parameters. In price move. All right. Long partial exits and short partial exits. All right. So this is done. Now, one thing very important, you must absolutely uncheck the optimize unload option here. This is optimize unload. You can't really see it because it's so small, but it must be unchecked. The optimizer that we have in the indicator will not work properly when used within a strategy. That's a limitation of NinjaTrader. It has to do how the indicator is initially loaded into the strategy. It's only done once at the beginning when the first bar occurs, but then never again. So the optimizer does not work. So it must be unchecked. But it's not a big limitation because we still are going to be able to use optimal values, but they need to come from our actual chart indicator. And how this works, I'll show you in a second. Okay. Okay. So again, our first condition was for a long entry. So we pick under value plot long entry. We have different options here. We're going to choose long entry. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, on the right-hand side, if you remember alerts, we always set it to greater than 0. So we're going to do the same thing, greater, and then 0 is under miscellaneous numeric value. If you scroll down here and you put in 0, that's going to be the same condition for every single signal we're scanning for every single plot, always greater than 0. Whether it's a short signal or an exit signal, this will always be the same. So don't try to alter this. So this is our condition, long entry. And as the action to be followed from this condition is you want to go long. All right, so we're going to go to order management, enter long position, and what should be our position size? Well, since you want to scale out, it should be the number of partial exits. In this case, let's say 4. So quantity is going to be 4, but if you don't want to hard code it, it should come from the user input long partial exits because you want to scale out perhaps 4 times. So we need to have at least 4 contracts on. So I click OK. Great. And we're done. Whew. Long entries are done. Now let's worry about the long exits. So we can have partial exits. What should happen when a partial exit occur? Well, again, let's so one thing we can do as a shortcut, so we don't have to map the parameters over and over again, you know, the mapping I did from the indicator parameters to the strategy parameters, we can simply duplicate this tab, okay, and then just alter our conditions because the mapping will be taken over. So it's already going to be there. So I'm going to open this up. I double click on my condition here. And instead of, whenever this opens, instead of, if I scroll down here, instead of long entry, because now we want to scale out, I'm going to look for long partial exit. All right. And this is all I need to do. I keep greater than 0 because it's always going to be the same. All right. And as the action, we don't want to enter long, obviously. Instead, as you can imagine, you want to exit out of our position. And since it's a partial exit, we want to take 1 contract off. So exit long position. And the quantity is going to be 1. Oops. Just type in 1 here. And we're done. So we're exiting by 1 contract when a partial exit comes along. And one more thing now for the final exit. So when a final exit comes along, and the final exit is triggered either when our last partial exit is there, or when a signal in the opposite direction occurs. So both will trigger a final exit plot. So we're gonna again duplicate this. All right, set 3, double click, just gonna alter it a little bit. So instead of partial exit or long partial exit, we are now going to choose long final exit. So whenever this opens up, come on, there we go. So down here, we're going to now go to long final exit, keep all the rest the same. So that's good. And as our action, we now want to exit the entire position. And the way to do this in NinjaTrader is to simply set the quantity to the entire initial position size. So user input, long partial exit. We don't have to worry about, let's say we only have two contracts open, and then we do a exit position with 4 contracts. You don't have to worry about going negative or going short or something. NinjaTrader will not do this. It will just close out the position if the position size, if the quantity for the closing event is bigger than the existing position size. So don't worry about this. So we click OK, and we're now done for the long side. So let's do the same thing for the short side. Again, let's duplicate our initial long entry condition and just change it a bit. So back in our dialog, and we're almost there. So 3 more minutes, I would guess. Oh man, long webinar today. All right, so whenever this opens up, we're gonna just simply now replace our long entry plot by short entry. We'll leave everything the same. We click OK. All right, and then as the action, obviously you want to enter into the short side. So enter short. We're gonna pick, where are we? So enter short position in the amount of our short partial exits. So under user input, short partial exits, we'll click OK, and we're done with this. And now for the actual exits, so again, we duplicate. All right, alter this condition real quick. Come on. Almost there. So this finally opens up. And then I will just simply, again, change my value plot. If I scroll down here from short entry to short partial exit, the rest stays the same. And as the action, I will now say exit short, if this ever opens. So here, exit short position. And the quantity is exactly 1, because that's what you want to take off at every partial exit. All right. One more time, duplicate the whole thing. Set 6 is now open. We're going to go to Divergence Cloud, our condition up here. And we do one more alteration. We're going to change short partial exit to short final exit. And once this opens up, I'm going to do this real quick. We're going to then change the action as well. So here, first, we change it to short final exit. All right. And then the action is exit short in the amount of our initial position size. And again, as mentioned before, we don't have to worry about going to the long side. This will not happen. NinjaTrader will prevent this. So exit the initial position size. We click OK, and that's it. So if I didn't make any mistake, now we have a fully automated strategy based on the Divergence Cloud AO indicator. So all we need to do now is to click compile. And this can take, again, a few seconds. So probably it's going to take like 15, 20 seconds. And once done, we can then apply this indicator or this strategy to our chart to see how it performs. All right. So I'm just going to wait a little bit. And eventually you're going to get a success message, if you didn't make any mistakes, that the strategy was successfully generated. So we get the message right now. Great. And now I can minimize this window here, and I can apply this strategy to the chart. So right click. In this case, you're not going to choose indicators, but you're going to choose strategies. All right. Perfect. And in here, you're going to find our Divergence Cloud AO strategy. Great. I select it. And what I want to do now is I want to use, well, probably you want to use the optimal settings, whatever the indicator has deemed as optimal for the strategy as well. So you want to mimic whatever the indicator is in here. So 25 for ATR period, 21 for divergence look back, 100 for price move, and 4 and 4 for the partial exits. All right, great. Double check that infinite is set as maximum bars look back. As mentioned before, if it's 256, it's not going to work. So infinite, and then click on enable. And fingers crossed, if I didn't make any mistake, which is possible because this webinar is way too long and I'm quite tired, but hopefully it will now mimic exactly what's happening on the chart. And you can see it with every short entry. We have actually a short trade, yeah, which are closed out with every partial exit. And as you can see here, the way this works is when we get an entry signal, the actual entry will happen at the open price of the next bar. Because we select on bar close. So we get the signal when the bar closes, but since the market is done, it's closed, we cannot enter into anything at that point. We have to wait until the market opens. This is when the position is opened up. We go short, and then we close out our position step by step as we hit our partial exits. So for example, here we had a partial exit, as you can see, and here you have the corresponding close out signal on the chart that we close out the position at the open of the next bar. Okay, so this works out. Nice, great. But one more thing, what should I do if I change symbols? So this is for Autodesk, but maybe I want to do it for Meta. Let me just go to, so formerly Facebook, for the Meta. I open it up, and of course the strategy we recalculate, but as you can see now here, whoa, nothing matches anymore. Why is that? Why is that? Anybody wants to voucher a guess? Why doesn't it match up anymore? Well, if you paid attention, and I know it's late, so I don't blame yourself. It is because the auto optimization function. Because for Meta, there were different optimal settings. If you go down here, we can now see that for ATR period, divergence lookback, different values were used. 5, 7, 125, 4, 4. This is not what we had configured our strategy with. So how can we make it in sync? Quite simple. Right-click on the chart. You go to strategies. Okay. You select Divergence Cloud AO strategy. First, you need to disable it. So disable this enabled box. Click apply. And now you can change your parameters. You can change ATR period to 5. You can change divergence lookback to 7. Min price move to 125. And long partial exit are good. So you enable it again. And hopefully now it will match up again. And voila, it actually does. Great. And keep this in mind when you change symbols, you would need to re-enter these values to always use the optimal settings. And of course, once you have a fully automated strategy, you can not only use this in live trading. This is fully done. You can trade it. You can enable it when the market opens. It would take trades. But you can also review the historical performance. You can do the strategy performance here. You select historical, and you can see what was the historical performance. So here we can see that, well, the strategy indeed has made some profits as suggested by our IET settings. Great. All right. Okay. Any questions before we move on? We have one more topic to be covered, but Niklas or Homer, are there any questions?
There's no questions, just a comment about setting up signals in Bloodhound, actually.
Oh, perfect. What a great segue again. I couldn't have said it better. So that's actually our last topic of today. And I hope you're not asleep yet. It's going to be a change of pace because Nicola is going to take over in just a second. But before we do this, let me go back to the slides just for a quick...
We actually also have a couple questions rolling in now, Daniel.
Okay.
One from Mark. He says, when I'm running a strategy every day, should I be changing the parameters to new optimal values?
I mean, if you're on the daily time frame, chances are there won't be any new optimal values every day. They probably stay the same. But if it's intraday, you want to keep an eye on what the optimal settings are, and you're going to keep your strategy adjusted. Yeah.
And also, when the super signals come out for NinjaTrader, will it be possible to make automated strategies based on them? Yes.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And
go ahead. As mentioned, we are probably, I mean, you never know, but I would guess maybe 2-3 weeks out from having the super signals for NinjaTrader.
And Joe wants to know, will NinjaTrader trade futures with an automated strategy overnight, even when you don't have NinjaTrader open?
No. That's, I mean, this is for basically any automated system. It needs to be running. If it's not running, it will not take any trades. Yeah. So if NinjaTrader is closed up, then it's not working. Mm-hmm. This is why, I mean, we don't have time to go into the whole thing of automation and so forth, but it's really important that you have a very reliable server that you run your NinjaTrader on, a server that's always connected to the internet. You can rent one on the internet, on the cloud, for example, to do this, just to make sure it's always online so that it will be able to, follow up and make sure all these trades are taken properly.
Perfect. No more questions.
Great. Okay. Well, last topic of today. So I hope you're still awake. How can I use the Powerbundle AO with Bloodhound. Now, if you don't know what Bloodhound is, it's a hugely popular tool for NinjaTrader. I know personally the people from Bloodhound, that's super nice. They have developed an awesome tool, which basically allows you to click together your own entry signals. This is typically used when you want to define your own entry logic for something that doesn't exist yet. For example, when close price is above MA50 and RSI is overbought and MACD is overbought and stochastic is somewhere. So you can define all these conditions together with Bloodhound graphically, and it will then give you a signal using this Bloodhound indicator. So you can graphically do it with no programming knowledge. For us, it's going to be a bit different because, our indicators, they already give you clear signals. It's cool. But there's still room for this because sometimes maybe you don't want to take these signals at face value. Maybe you want to add some additional filters to it. You could do this with Bloodhound. You can maybe add an MA condition or an RSI condition to our signals, and you will only then get a signal when everything comes together at the same time. And how this can be done, now Nicola will show you. So Nicholas, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to have a little bit of water. It should take over. So please take it away.
Okay, great. I think you just need to enable screen sharing.
Yeah, I'm going to do this.
I'll take over
right away. So yeah, go ahead, please. I'm going to stop sharing my part.
Okay. So we've gotten a couple questions about Bloodhound with the indicators. So I'm really just going to show how you can set them up to play nice with Bloodhound. So let me just move this over here. So here on the chart, I've got 1, 2, 3 strike AO applied. And I'm going to go ahead and now apply Bloodhound. Shark indicators. I've got the trial. And Bloodhound opens up, and we're just going to go and create some new fresh logic. So up here, I'll click empty template. And the first thing I'm going to show is how you can actually pull the data from the entry signals from the Powerbundle indicators into Bloodhound and use them with your signals. So what we're going to do is we're going to create what's called a indicator threshold solver right here, a threshold. And I'm going to use this to get the entry signals from 1, 2, 3 strike. So I'll name this logic, this threshold 1, 2, 3 strike entry signals. And then down here in the input settings for this threshold, I'm going to select indicator, click these 3 dots, and I'll navigate to trading indicators and select 1, 2, 3 strike AO. So I'm using all the default settings because that's what I also have on the chart, optimize on load. And down here is the important part. So we want to specify which plots are we using for our long and short logic with this condition, with this solver. So for our long, we select the long entry plot. And for our short, we're going to select short entry plot. So that's all we need to do here. We can go ahead and click OK. And what should happen is on the chart, Bloodhound will now highlight or show that it's recognizing these signals from 1, 2, 3 strike. So when I click OK, I'm now going to drag the logic from this threshold over to my result so that it shows on the chart. But what we see happening is Bloodhound is recognizing the long entries, but it's not recognizing the short entries. And this is because, similar to what Daniel showed in the strategy builder and the market analyzer columns, is our indicators, if we come here to our threshold settings, open these up, our indicators always require that you check if the plot's value is greater than 0. So you have to check if the long entry is greater than 0 or short entry is greater than 0. But what Bloodhound does is it assumes that for short logic, you're checking less than 0. So if your short entries are not being highlighted by Bloodhound or aren't being recognized, you just need to change this logic to short if greater than 0. So now when I click OK, we'll see on the chart that it now recognizes the 1, 2, 3 strike short signals. So it's going to be the same process for all 3 indicators to recognize their entry signals or their exit signals. And let's go ahead and just see how we can combine 2 of the indicators to maybe try and get a super signal or a combined signal where 2 of the indicators, let's say, have a signal on the same bar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste this threshold logic node here. And I'm going to call this now divergence cloud entry signals. And all I need to do now, I've already set the threshold settings. It'll be the same for both indicators. I just need to change the indicator now to divergence cloud AO. and click long entry for the long logic and short entry for the short logic. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a logic node, an AND node. And I'm going to make it so we only get a result in Bloodhound if 1, 2, 3 strike and Divergence Cloud have a signal on the same bar. So if Divergence Cloud has a long entry and 1, 2, 3 strike has a long entry, that'll be our result. And the same for the short side. I'm just going to go here and apply Divergence Cloud to the chart so we can see how they line up. Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3 strike and Divergence Cloud on the chart. And Divergence Cloud, its entry signals for the short side are very similar in color to 1, 2, 3 strikes. So to make that a little clearer, I'm just going to change the color from this red to maybe more of a pink. Okay, so now we can clearly differentiate between the two indicators. And now back in Bloodhound. Oh, I need to save this. Just save this and open it back up. So back in Bloodhound now, I'll drag this to my result. And what we see is that we don't have any signal on the chart because that actually never happened, right? It's pretty unusual that they both have the signal on the same bar. The signals are sometimes close by, but it's pretty rare. And this is actually one of our super signals that we're developing. It's pretty rare that two signals happen on the same bar from the separate indicators. So what we can do instead is some more interesting logic, which could be something you would like to test or incorporate into a strategy. What I'm going to say is if Divergence Cloud had a long entry or a short entry within the last 15 bars, and then 1, 2, 3 strike had an entry, then I want to see the result. So this is just kind of a quick demo of kind of the cool things you can do with Bloodhound. There's so much more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a look back function. And I'm going to call this within 15 bars. What I need to do here, set the displacement to 0 and the look back period to 15. And now what's happening is I'm taking the 1, 2, 3 strike entry signal, but I'm combining it with a Divergence Cloud entry signal that happened within the 15 previous bars. And now if we look on the chart, we see these special signals highlighted. So here we had a Divergence Cloud short entry, and then within 15 bars of that moment, we had a 1, 2, 3 strike short entry, and that was signaled. Similarly, I think I need to refresh the chart. Here we have a Divergence Cloud long entry. Within 15 bars, we have a 1, 2, 3 strike entry. Similarly here with this short entry that didn't work out so well. Here as well, here as well, and here as well. So you can do a lot of this kind of cool combined logic between the indicators. But one other thing you can do is, since just like in the market analyzer column, we can actually add filtering using IET, where we can set a threshold for the IET on the signals. Let's say if we only want to see long or short signals when the indicator has an IET over 75, for example. So the way you can do this is I'll delete my Divergence Cloud logic over here. And I'm going to add a new solver, another threshold solver. And what I'm going to check for is 1, 2, 3 strike IET greater than 70. So I'll come down here, select the indicator for this solver to 1, 2, 3 strike AO. But now for the long and short logic plots used, I'm going to use long IET for the long logic and short IET for the short logic. And my threshold settings, I'm not going to check if over 70, or sorry, over 0 anymore. I'm going to check if greater than 70. So now this logic will only trigger if the long or short IET are greater than 70. So now I'll drag this into this and logic here with the 1, 2, 3 strike signals. And our result will only show us 1, 2, 3 strike signals where the 1, 2, 3 strike IET was greater than 70. And the way we can confirm that this is working is we can actually come down into 1, 2, 3 strike. And because long IET and short IET are actually plots, what I can do just for demonstration is plot them on the chart. So I'm going to set the long IET and this won't scale very well on the chart, but to a lime green just so we can see it in the data window here. And we can see this signal here for 1, 2, 3 strike was highlighted by Bloodhound. And if we look in the data window, we can see that it says long IET was 72.22. That's why this was highlighted. Whereas these long signals back here were ignored because at this time the IET was 64.29. So again, this is just, and right here, I'm sure at this point, after this previous short trade worked out and we got some nice profitable exits, the IET jumped on the short side over 70, which is why we got this signal here on this bar, which ended up turning out pretty good. So I hope this was helpful in setting it up with Bloodhound. This is just scratching the surface of what's possible, but I hope it gives a good idea of how you can possibly combine the indicators and their signals to come up with your own innovative strategies.
Yeah, great. Awesome stuff. Yeah, Bloodhound, as I mentioned, is a cool tool. And it works super awesome. It integrates very nicely with our indicators, so you can create your own super signals. Again, we're going to have our own super signals version of it where we're looking for confluence between our 3 indicators. But you can do it yourself if you have Bloodhound. You can create your own super signals with all kinds of conditions. So that's super cool. All right. Well, first of all, kudos to everyone for surviving until now. It is 7:57, at least in my time zone, which is in Montreal. We actually had our first snow yesterday, which is kind of cool. The winter is starting. Just real quick, and I'm going to wrap this up in the next 5 minutes. So if you don't have the Powerbundle yet, and if you're wondering, oh, is this Powerbundle for me? Well, ask yourself the question, do you believe in using intelligent tools to help you make better trading decisions? So if you believe in that, you believe in indicators and support, and then yes, these indicators will be for you because they are as intelligent as they can be. So this is 2 years of research put into a set of indicators. If you also believe that tools can make your trading life easier, yes, these indicators are for you because, I'm an engineer. I believe in tools. Tools help me to do my work quicker. I'm a programmer, so I believe in programming tools, but if you're like a structural engineer, civil engineer, you use other tools just to make your life easier to create better products faster. So if you believe in this, yes, these indicators are for you. Or, and this is of course always the end result, if you want to get better results in your trading portfolio, whether you're a trader or investor, yes, these indicators are for you. And as mentioned in our presentation last week, for a very short period of time, we are going to still offer a lifetime license for our Powerbundle with auto optimization at $9.97. This will go away as soon as we set up properly. We're currently, developing a subscription model for our indicators, and we're looking at the monthly subscription portion at this point, but right now you can still lock in the lifetime access at $9.97. There won't be any extra charges after this. And if you do this, you're gonna get our full auto optimization package for the Powerbundle. You of course gonna get the statistics. You're gonna get 1, 2, 3 strike, the trend expert. You're gonna get divergence cloud, the pullback finder. You're gonna get volatility crusher for trading breakouts. Everything you've seen in this tutorial. And we're going to throw in some training goodies as well. So all the videos we ever recorded, which are in our private section, you're going to get access to. You're going to get an ebook on trading the divergence cloud, or this special form of divergence, which we have discovered. And of course, you're going to get our masterclass on demand for our indicators. So all this thrown in. If you want to take advantage of this, go to tradingindicators.com/ninja. If you want to use NinjaTrader, but even with the same link, you're also going to see the Powerbundle for TradingView currently and for MetaStock. And soon we're going to be adding Moderate Wave to the mix as well. And of course, we do have a 7-day money back guarantee. No questions asked. If you're not happy after 7 days, you will get a full refund. And this way you can try it out basically without any risk. All right, so what are these goodies? Real quick, we have this ebook on predicting market moves, which is focused on our form of divergence, which we have discovered in our research lab. You're going to get the masterclass on demand. And of course, and this is it's free anyways, you can always come back to our tech talks.
I just have one last question, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Adam wants to know, he says he trades futures only. And will the 3 indicators work on Renko bars?
Yeah, so I haven't shown Renko bars yet, but they do work on Renko bars. We don't discriminate between bar types. Whatever has price action and volume, you can use. And Renko is one example of that. Yeah.
On Daniel, he also mentioned actually a specific type of Renko bar, I suppose, called Ninja Renko bars.
I'm not familiar with this, but you know what? Again, we do have the 7-day money back guarantee. Why don't you just try it out, see if it works? So I don't know this type of Renko bars, and just make a decision for your own. I think that's always the easiest. Yeah, see for yourself, and then you make a decision. Any other questions?
Nope, that's all.
Great. This was by far the longest tech talk we've ever had so far. So we're at 2 hours and 3 minutes. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I know your time is precious. You probably skipped dinner or something. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Our entire team is so grateful for all our users, for all our listeners. We develop our tools based on the feedback we're getting from our users. So we really want to give something back, and hopefully we have created a solution here that will help you in your trading, making better trading decisions. So thank you so much for listening. I can't wait for our next Tech Talk in about 2 weeks. And of course, you will be notified. And until then, stay safe, stay warm if you live in Canada, and have a good night. Bye-bye.